Hi, welcome to Tennis Over Coffee, our take on tennis. We are bringing our coffee conversations that we have over coffee to you online. I'm Janard.
And I'm Nikhil.
So, last couple of weeks, many things have evolved in the direction. Start with who would have thought, in the absence of Jack Draper, you will have a British semi-finalist, and that we,
A
who would have
wild
thought
card.
that a wild card, right? Who would have thought that Rebekina or Swiatek or Sabalenka will not be there in the final? None of them will be in the final. It's an all check fan. Who would have guessed it going into
Right.
this? So those are some of the surprises. There's been a lot of surprises, a lot of interesting stories evolving out of it. To begin with, we didn't have Alcaraz, right? Disappointment for a
Right.
lot of the fans. This surface suits him in the way that the variation and other things really help. What are your thoughts, Nikhil? What did you see in the last couple of weeks?
True, I think the absence of Alcaraz was very noticeable. Like the draw significantly opens up on the men's side if you don't have Alcaraz or Sinner or even Djokovic at this point, right? I wouldn't say that it really opened up a draw for Zverev because he was still in form, but it's fun to watch natural surface player do his magic on the court. So I think that is something that was missing. On the women's side, I think Czech players have always performed well, but to have an all Czech final is something that we didn't see. Right? Czech players are great grass court players, but then yes, Sabalenka and Swiatek exiting. I wouldn't say early, but it's below what we've come to expect of them, right? But it's nice to have a new champion. It really shows us the depth to the women's game there is right now with the variations that the game brings on the women's side at least. So it was a good 2 weeks to see something new come up. Absolutely. Talking about Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, one thing is for such a small country, number of great female tennis players that has produced and continue to produce, right? You see how many of those players are there in the tour right now. It's unbelievable, right? It's just like fabulous how they're able to continuously do it. Right. All right. Stories of the fortnight, right? So we have had so many stories evolve in the last about couple of weeks. Which is your favorite one? I just want to start with that because there's so many of them, right? I can count at least 3-4 those player stories evolving this time. I'd say favorite stories. I think it's always the underdogs who carry the most emotional support from anyone watching. So I'd say on the women's side we had Iala, and on the men's side we had Fery. Great stories. People, maybe Iala, I think you did expect her to pull off some magic. You wouldn't expect her to beat the defending champion. Fery, on the other hand, an absolute miracle that he's reached the semis fairly. I wouldn't say easily, but he had to fight through quite a bit. But he's done it in spectacular fashion till his run was ended by Zverev in the semis. What stories are your favorite? Yeah, the ones that didn't pan out. I'll start with those. Rublev, right, is a story that didn't pan out. I don't expect him to do a whole lot on the grass court, but then the thing that bothers me, to be frank, is that we saw that he had those emotional outbursts. He's hurting himself and all these things happening last year. And then he brings in Marat Safin. So I was like, what? This is going to be great for this guy, right? He needs someone. Could be a good fit. So I was really expecting it to pan out throughout the clay season. It didn't happen. So I was like, okay, maybe they just, like takes time, right? All this relationship to come to fruition. So I was waiting for it. I was thinking grass court, he will do something that, will probably do have a deeper run. That's one story that didn't pan out. I expect that he'll probably make slightly deeper and he was beaten by Saful in the first round. Very unfortunate. The second one probably would agree with me would be the Tsitsipas story. Are you okay with it because he lost to Djokovic? What was your thought? Tsitsipas, it was really nice watching him when he would absolutely go after the ball, right? When he had that spark in him, like he said he did. Right now, he's split from his coach who's also his dad. I'm not sure about what his coaching situation is right now, but I think he is still taking some time to find that confidence that he had a while ago, right? Someone like Tsitsipas who had taken Djokovic to 5 sets in the French final after having led 2 sets to love. It's the same Tsitsipas who now met Djokovic in round 2. Yeah, round 2. Lost fairly easily. And I think grass is not his best surface, that is there. But you can see the Tsitsipas is not the same person he used to be. He's taking his time to find his footing. I'm not sure if he'll find his footing. I'm not sure if he knows if he'll find his footing. But he's a very fun player to watch. I really hope he does get back into it. He doesn't seem confident at all to me. Like, the stats do not reveal that he, I think he had a very bad first or second serve percentage, 25 or something like that. Second serve points 1, right?
And then like I don't know his racket situation. He keeps going back. He was playing with a very old version of Blade. He tried Python. He went back. So I really don't understand in situation that like whether his mind is in the right place. Will spit enough. I at this point his ranking has dropped all the way to 87 or maybe below that as well.
Yes,
So
I think he's
that
somewhere there.
means that means troubles, right? Because you, on one hand, you players have already are figuring out your weaknesses a lot more now, and you have
Right.
exposed the weakness a lot more on the back end side. Not to say that you can't fix it, it's just that you're not being consistently being able to from that quarter plate. Everybody's figured it out. 87, which means that you need to get wild cards into tournaments or like that's a bad situation for him. So it'll be
Right.
interesting how he does. There are a bunch of ways you can think of. People have done in the past. You play challenges, you kind of get the confidence back. Winning is more important actually. A bunch of like if you have one challenger this thing under your belt, definitely would feel different.
Right.
Not the first time champions go back and do that and come back. It's not like we've heard stories of people being so. I'm really hoping, but unfortunately it didn't pan out in the last fortnight. So that's the call out here.
Right.
So now coming to the positive side, right? Lots of interesting stories happen. When we go into Grand Slam, that's something that I always look for. In French, we had Maya Kowalinska, there was an interesting story. We have Arthur Fery here, which you already mentioned. What a
Right.
story, right? Like I told in our previous conversation, I mentioned this to you that it feels like this guy's game is kind of tailor-made for grass. He lives very close by to Wimbledon. His game is made for grass. That's an amazing story. But yeah, only thing that he is going to have to kind of figure out the positives from here and have to go forward on this because we have seen a lot of this pan out for a period of time, like one Grand Slam and then maybe a couple of these things and then follow. Even story of Karatsev from Australian Open a few years back. So, but to be able to kind of take this and convert into something bigger would be really nice to see. Because he brings in something different. So whether he'll be able to replicate it in another course, another format, and in a consistent way is something to be seen. That will be a good story for British tennis to have. Right now they are really struggling for the stars that used to be after Andy Murray is gone in a consistent way.
They do have great players. They have good players, but I think injury fatigue is something that they just can't recover from. It almost seems like Jack Draper was injured every now and then. He would be the hope of Wimbledon if he had really played through. But I think he had to pull out after the very first round, or did he not play at all? I think
he
pulled out after the round.
He pulled out. I think as soon as the draw was announced, he pulled out or something like that. Or just before the draw was announced, something like that. Both Raducanu and Draper pulled out. Yeah, it's very interesting that a lot of British players are having injuries. So it's something they need to LT need to look at carefully for sure.
And I hope Ferry is able to take this, like you said, I hope he's able to take this outside of just this run because he has had only 6 career level tour wins, right? It's not like he's had a lot. And this run was magical. And because of his simply having just 6 tour wins, seems like it's fair to assume that it won't pan out. It's a very short time for him to actually have be making consistent runs. But I would like to see it because Karatsev had done that. Karatsev was a very seasoned challenger player before he made his deeper runs. But let's see how Ferry is able to take his counter punching him and take it across all surfaces.
The other one on the men's side, for me personally, is Cobolli. Right? The reason I'm saying the story is because he proved himself. Like coming into 2026, he was not in form. So he towards Australian Open, I think he lost again to Ferry in the first round or second round, first round, I think. And then he kind of picked up stream. He won one of the clay events. It was in great form to kind of impress him to get us to the final all the way. Right, really had a good run. And then coming into grass, transition naturally into grass. It's just like amazing to see. So Cobolli, we have spoken about earlier as well. I feel that he's really maximizing his potential, maximizing how he plays the game. So it'll be really interesting to see this young chap, another Italian in the mix, who can do great things. I still feel that there are some game strategy level improvement that the team needs to make. I think I already mentioned it to you in one of our discussions earlier. I feel that he's a great player, but you also need to bring in the variety that is needed to be able to adapt and change. That's what we saw in the quarterfinal where he lost to Ferry. What a run, man! What a run! Like to be good, like I would say the way you start the season and then how you end up going into win like this the fight. the final of a Grand Slam, and then continue the run and then do quarterfinal, right? For a completely different surface. I think he's a player to watch out for. I'm actually really looking forward to the rest of the year. He has done great things. He won the Davis Cup last year for Italy. Yes. I think he's a player to watch out for sure.
I agree.
On the women's side, I think Yala, you said, I do agree. Great run. Again, she beat Swiatek, but my main picks, right, in the women's side is definitely Osaka, Naomi Osaka. Mm-hmm. She beat Sabalenka, right? And what an amazing... so leading up to the grass event, she played a couple of them, and then she, she did really well in Bad Homburg, if I remember correct, and had to pull out at the last minute from that tournament. Mm-hmm. I think, not the last minute. She had to pull out in the final because of some kind of injury against Muchová. And the destiny has it that you have a rematch with Muchová.
After having beaten Sabalenka.
After having beaten Sabalenka. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So we'll come to that match, but the streak that she has started for various reasons significant, right? One is that she was not known to be a good grass court player before this. Like if there is a specialist, she's a hardcore specialist, pretty much. That's how you would see Osaka. Right, she has won all of 4 Grand Slams there, beaten all the top 10 opponents only in that surface, not outside. So coming into grass, she had not big expectations on her, but she really delivered on the on grass big time, completely overpowering Sabalenka and on the surface, right? So she said as much in the Sabalenka mentioned it in the post match conf as well, that she completely overpowered me. So that's a great run. And the second one for me is obviously like it's a slam dunk, Coco Gauff, right? She didn't have any rhythm coming in, like from French Open. Also, she lost, slightly early, I think, and then she goes into grass. I know that she came into prominence, getting into the quarterfinal in grass when she was I think 15 or something like that, very, very young, right? But then ever since she didn't have such a great run here. So for her to come back, and the kind of she was one shot short of winning the match against Muchová at the quarterfinal. Yeah, so that's the story for me. Right? She has had a good run in grass. That's the story for me. She has come back from it. For me, what it shows is that on a surface, when you're not playing well, how good a player she is. Right? I was completely, blown by the consistency of, like she was always a set down. Most of the matches.
She was, yes. I think it was her 4th consecutive set down that she had to come back up from. And I think it speaks volumes about the way she manages herself also, because as the defending champion, when you've lost out kind of early in the French, right, which is a surface that she's not bad at, right, to be able to come back from that and change surfaces and then fight your way through. When you're not playing your best, you fight your way through, you strategize, you come up with different plans. And you work through it well enough to reach the level that she did at Wimbledon this time yes, I agree, is a story that we could all appreciate.
What's your hot take on the missed, the viral thing that the drop shot choice on a simple forehand that could have won the match?
Hot take. See, I
do you have one?
Like, I mean, I get it. Like, see, if I think we could all agree that her forehand was not working. Right, the whole match, it was very easy for Muchová to just target her forehand over and over, and she would just loop it, and the ball would land well behind the service line. And to finally have a match point on a short forehand that anyone else would have actually butchered, killed it, won the match. Yeah. I could see why that hesitation showed up just at that moment, right? It was a very tense tiebreak. It was 9-8. It's not like she had opportunities lined up, like multiple match points. It was just that one match point that she had. And when she chose the shot that she did, she could have either made it, because it just touched the net, right? She could have either made it, and she unfortunately didn't. Everyone would have praised her by saying, wow, this is good. Yeah. Like this was an excellent shot selection. But because she missed it, everyone is going to take a dump on her for that. Yeah. So I think I don't really have a hot take. I just say that it could have gone either ways, but I understand the hesitation on her forehand that she ended up showing at that very crucial moment. Yeah. And I think she owned up to it, right? I think the best part is she owned up to it. She said that, it could have been either way. You guys would have been cheering for me if it had crossed the net, if I'd won the match.
Yeah.
No one would have questioned the shot then.
I think the thing is that, I completely understand her defense, right? But the thing that what we say is that as what everybody is saying It's not that, don't try it. But the thing is that what's the high percentage shot on that, right? You had a clear forehand and short ball, right? Do you really need to take it as like that? Or would you have done that if you have enough confidence on leading up to the point, right? That was what people are kind of indirectly attributing to it. I see the point with that as well, which is like, hey, listen, you need to fix your forehand is what, like, not in a way that, again, when we say this out of enormous respect for the talent that she is, right?
A multi-slam winner is what she is, right? Like, if you had a terrible forehand, you would not be at that place.
Yeah, but even like history aside, right? If you're playing 50% of your game potential and you're actually in the quarterfinal of an event, of grass court, right? Of a tournament, it speaks volume of what you can do when you're 70-80% of your potential, full potential, right? That's what we all want to see, and that has to be taken with that context. I think sometimes we miss the context of when people get disappointed with Coco Gauff and stuff. It's not that she is not to indicate that she doesn't know. It's just that she's too good to be making these mistakes. That's what it is about. But on the other hand, all credit to Muchová, right? To be able to kind of stay. I think one of the stunning points of the match, right? He just rolled the years back for me in terms of when I used to watch the Sam versus the jumping volley, which like was a thing. Like she did one, and it's like she just stretched herself and just placed a volley. This thing just reminded
me. I'm so glad to see all this in the women's game also.
Exactly. Like, we haven't seen that. That's the exciting thing about Muchová. We'll talk about her game. I always have loved her game for the last several years. It must have been devastating for her. But we'll talk about that in the next one. We want to discuss the quarterfinals and semifinals and the matches that has gone through the second week. For me, I think there's some really amazing matches, right? I think even leading up to the quarterfinals, the Krejcikova match with a good one, because it was a very tight match going back and forth, and then like first set was Muchová, second set Krejcikova. It felt like the momentum has shifted. Suddenly Muchová came back. Muchová throughout the tournament, one reason I felt that Muchová was really kind of struggling in the later stages. I felt that in parts she would kind of become a very different person. Like felt like she just goes away for a bit. The real Muchová that we have known, like the volleying, the variety goes away for a bit, and like that also, like when it hard, like from our experience of playing tournaments, like whatever we do, I can relate to it. But the thing is that for such a talented player, again, you have so many things in the arsenal, right? To be able to mix up. It's not like others. Like for example, if you talk about certain players, you would say that a lot of good players, not even undermining them, but they have only so much opportunities or so much options that they have at the disposal on a particular given shot, right? On the other hand, you have Muchová who have multiple options. Slice, I can do a slice. I can actually slice and volley. I can actually rush the opponent with my flat strokes, right? So many options, but suddenly she will kind of go blank on all of them and just try to play like a normal person who has no options, right? That's what kind of sometimes surprises with Muchová.
Right. Do you think the real Muchová, like you said, is someone who really plays her game throughout, or is it someone who is struggling with consistency, or someone who blanks out, like you said, and the hidden Muchová just comes out? What do you think is a more real version?
I think the real Muchová, which I have seen in phases, I don't remember exactly the timeline. I can give you. There are stretches if you go back in her timeline before she went into the French Open final last. I think she lost to, don't remember which year, but she lost that final. So that Muchová, before that phase, right, before she went to the surgery and stuff, there was stretch where you could see that person, that continuously attacking
I see.
be able to kind of vary. She is that person. I also feel that is the reason why that's the small bump that she has, right? Like, to be able to stay focused, right, for a long extended period of time and be extra aggressive, right? Like, again, she has so much variety, right? She can come onto the net, she can slice the ball. One of our conversations earlier, I had also mentioned this, like, she reminds me most of Ash Barty, right? Ash Barty won 3 Grand Slams. So, I mean, she should have won if she had stayed, but she's such a good player, right? So, that's the thing. I feel that that's one of the stories. Now that we're covering Muchová, I was just also thinking that we'll cover the quarterfinal match. She beat Osaka there, right? Amazing match. My reading of that was definitely, while giving full credit to how well Muchová played that match, again, like one of where she was not off, she was just continuously playing a good tennis, not giving any opportunity to Osaka. But I felt that Osaka was not at her best in that match, having played her best before
Hmm.
Sabalenka and all that. The next match was not the same level of aggressiveness. She did mention
Do you
so in
think
the post
Muchová
match.
had a role to play in that, or did Osaka have her own issues?
I think so. It was both, but I would rather in this case. I personally feel that it is actually Osaka who didn't lift it to the same level as before. Not
Okay.
just Muchová troubled her a whole lot. Yes,
Hmm.
the variety did make it slightly difficult, but
Hmm.
I didn't see those. Even when the opportunity was presented, I didn't see those. Not
The
so
same
much the
Osaka.
shot, but the movement of Osaka was a little bit compromised in the match. I
Okay.
didn't see
And
her.
what did you say?
You
What
saw
did
her.
she say in the press
She said
conference?
after the press conference also she attributed with the fact that hey she just joked like I become old. She just said that
Oh,
I
okay.
plant like I think she's plantar fasciitis or some that the foot
Oh,
problem
right. Okay. Plantar
and I
fasciitis.
become so that's what she said and that attributed to the slightly and like a level down maybe of the movement in the court that
Hmm.
actually that's important when you play like Muchová, right? Unfortunate that if she had a different player maybe she would not make that move that much. Coco was
Right.
going to that. That's one of the quarterfinals. What else? What else we got?
Quarters, we have Nosková
On the
and
women's side,
Mertens, and we have Gauff and Pegula.
Nosková
It
side,
is
what?
game style wise, yes. I mean, and even entering, like we mentioned, right? Gauff seemed to have struggled quite a bit coming into Wimbledon, and even in her French Open run.
Hmm.
I think it was a surprise that Pegula actually lost this one out, or if it is Gauff who actually scraped through and won it. Like, I don't know whether it is Gauff winning or Pegula losing, but you had seen the match. I think you have a better idea of how this
Yeah.
panned out. So, what do you think happened?
I think the weakness strengths of Goff and Pegula has always kind of fascinated me because the Goff is a
Hmm.
better mover. And Pegula actually, you wouldn't think, we've discussed this also. Pegula's first step is, I feel, slightly slower than the rest of the tour, obviously, also because,
I think so too.
age as well, maybe, right? But he's an amazing, tactician and also a good shot maker, Pegula. So you have this combo where Pegula can place the ball very well, hit the ball hard into corners. But then on the other side, you have Goff. She's going to retrieve that. That's exactly
Correct.
what happens in the rivalries, right? She runs like crazy. She picks up everything, and then after a
Correct.
point, you feel like it's person the opponent is making me kind of do so much more than what I'm comfortable. So that's where you have that match going one direction. Pegula also mentioned in the press conference that that's what make it very difficult to play golf. But very unfortunately for me, in the matches are the things, right? Like Pegula on a different, like with a different player would have, in my opinion, should at least on the surface would have gone to this year at least, would gone to semi-final, right? For sure.
Right.
But then you have
I think she hits relatively flat, so her game
relatively flat.
does
So
suit
the
grass,
surface.
right?
Yeah.
It does suit the
That's what
surface.
we were expecting, but not to be this time. The other one, I think the other one is Nosková versus
Nosková
Mertens.
Mertens? Yes.
Mertens. I think you had some insights into the match last time we spoke. I haven't watched
Yes,
a
I
whole
think
lot of Mertens off
I
late.
think the insights came in also in Mertens' previous match. And who did she beat on that? I think while we find that out, I think what I can say about Mertens is that she's also, I think, an older player, right? She's also not someone whose movement is like Goff. She's not someone who can like stretch and lunge for a lot of shots. But from what I could see, Mertens does very well redirecting pace. She is a great pace absorber. And I think Nosková tended to struggle a little bit in bits and pieces, especially like trying to close out the match because Mertens able to get one more ball back in, right? You'd expect a very hard shot that any of these hard hitters hit to not make it back that easily. But Mertens almost looks like she's prepared early. She's in position for that shot and she gets it back in, which is what I think made Mertens a hard person to close the match out against for Nosková in the second set. It went to 7-5. I think Nosková had opportunities early on, but Mertens just got the ball back in very easily with a lot of finesse and just, redirected it and made it Nosková play that one extra ball, which is usually what ends up drawing errors from the opponent.
Yeah. The scoreline is 3-6, 5-7, Nosková won. But
Yes.
but the match was actually towards the later stages was actually like tough. Not as easy as it looks, right? For Mertens. By the way, Mertens played and won against Boskova. Another Czechoslovakian. Boskova,
right.
yeah.
And also, I think she is the one who beat Rybakina in the third round, which is why I felt she does great with pace. Like on a surface like grass, when pace really helps you on serve and on your ground strokes, she was able to pick her She wouldn't blast every ball like you'd see a lot of players doing now in the modern game, but she would really pick the shot that she could go after, and otherwise mostly redirect it and get some angles, redirect it kind of flat. So make it difficult for the other person to play that harder shot again. So I think she did that very well. And credit to Nosková as someone who also hits hard to have managed that finally and close it out.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think the one other quarterfinal that was very interesting was which are the other ones? I think mostly it is around.
It was Kostyuk.
Kostyuk, yeah, correct. Kostyuk was who did she play? Kostyuk had not so
played
difficult
Paulini.
match. Oh yeah, Paulini, correct. We spoke about that. That was also an interesting one. Yeah, the matchup again for Paulini is a little bit hard in that one because Kostyuk is a very heavy hitter of the ball. Paulini actually.
She is.
It's hard for it to counter the pace. So that was a thing. I expected that as well. Full credit to Paulini. She has had tough matches coming into this thing. She had played well. She defeated Ayala in quarterfinals. So that was a good one. Coming to the semi-final, coming to the men's side of quarterfinals, we had really, some of the, obviously the elephant in the room is the 5.5 hour match.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. What are your thoughts? I think you caught a bit of that as well.
Right? I did. I think going into the match, the expectation would be that since FA has a great serve and a +1, the target would be his backhand, right? Because his backhand is something which is inconsistent. Like overall, he's improved his consistency in the rest of his game quite a bit, with his backhand being the obvious laggard. So I'd expect Djokovic to go to his backhand very often, which he tried to. But in the 4 sets that they played, I think FA would find a way to avoid getting into this backhand trap, and he would kind of successfully let Djokovic ditch that game plan. Right, so Djokovic had to do something else and not simply stick to attacking his backhand.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? How did you see this go?
Yeah, I actually had the same thought. Actually, we had this WhatsApp chat going from back and forth before the match, and you were asking what is your thing going with the match. I said simple, right? Djokovic is going to continue to attack FA's backhand.
Right.
But then when we got into the match, we realized that it's not working, and Djokovic, being Djokovic, he just figured out a different way to kind of go through the court. And again, this is the thing, right? When there is so much pressure, when you get tight, in the 5th set, again, he started pounding his backhand, especially towards the tiebreaker. It started falling apart a little bit, and that's where he drew the errors and things like that. For me, I actually had a 50-50 going into the match, and that's how the match also played out. Not because of anything disrespect for any of them, just that I felt that Djokovic had 4 set matches before this, right? And if you see off late, one of the biggest problems that he's had in the Australian Open as well is that he had time before, like a last set retirement, and then one withdrawal before the quarterfinal leading to semifinals. That gives him the kind of the gap for him to play the match and do well, because physically you recover very well, right? But here, after those 4 sets, I was just thinking that, okay, it's going to be hard. But man, I was wrong. This guy just went
Miracle
for 5.5
for a reason.
Yeah, miracle man, correct. Amazingly played, right? The pace, how well he paced himself, and the kind of strategy changes. It's like just watch and observe and learn kind of a moment for many many of us. I'm sure for other youngsters as well who watch it. It's a great thing. He came through in an interesting way. Yeah, go ahead.
Like he's a poster boy for change, right? Like he's a poster boy for having reinvented his game and also keeping his fitness and optimizing for his sleep, his food, like everything that he's done. He has optimized solely to be at the highest peak of tennis, right? And he has managed to change his serve over the years. His serve was by far his weakest draw, and he's managed to change that, and he really has a penetrating serve now at the age of 39 and 40, when what you need to do is to shorten the rally so that the match, even if it goes on for longer, isn't very taxing for you. And what I could see was that they both, in the first set, I think the rallies didn't go very long. They both were at their peak serve +1 abilities, with Djokovic occasionally trying to trap Félix into his backhand. When that didn't work, he just managed to scrape out whatever he could, draw the errors at crucial points, which is what I think FA was not able to convert those crucial points, right? It's not just the break points, but also, let's say, when when Djokovic had a set point, I think that was the first set itself. FA had a very easy routine drive volley that he could have hit to defend, right? The court was open. Djokovic was out wide on the ad side and he just knocks it out of the park. Like that was a very odd mistake, but just gave Djokovic the first set, right? Like you've let a guy who can be fatigued take the first set away from you. So now you have to fight back that much harder.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what happened in the second set, but it seemed like Djokovic slowed down a bit, maybe to pace himself, maybe FA. Felix really pulled out all the stops in the second set. But by the time it came to the fifth, Djokovic knew what he had to do. His tiebreak hygiene is impeccable. He becomes a wall during most tiebreaks, a lot of tiebreaks. He just becomes a wall. He managed to trap Felix into his backhand so well. 0 unforced errors, by the way, for that last set from Djokovic, because that's what you come to expect,
set, right?
Fifth set, like you are playing, you're nearing the 5-hour mark and the fifth set tiebreak, and you've pulled out all the stops and you have no unforced errors for the set. Unreal. Like I don't know how the guy does it, but clearly it took a toll on him.
Got a glimpse of what he is mentally, right? Like we have not seen this kind of a game from in quite some time, I feel, because we've seen other kind of things. He beat Sinner in a particular way in Australian Open. Sinner's level was also a bit down. So that's a different kind of a game. But this one I really liked it because you see this kind of, either depending on which camp you are in, hated or loved, right? I was in for a while. I was in the other camp, not really hate, but like I was in the I'm a self-confessed Federer fan, so I always looked up past Djokovic as an opponent. And when you really look at it without that lens, you see what great a player he is. Strategize, change. You can learn a whole lot from just watching that man play. It's thing. And other important for me in the quarterfinals, one of the biggest things that I was thinking it's going to be a hurdle for Zverev in quarterfinals to beat Fritz, right? In spite of everything, in spite of the fact that Fritz didn't have a great run leading up to this
whole year.
He has some injuries. He has a whole year. And so the fact that he had shorter matches, I thought it'll be difficult for Zverev. Clay is his surface, not so much as grass. But the way he played, I was really surprised. What did you think? It was a very aggressive styles that he played in that match.
Very right. I think winning the French has unlocked some kind of like he feels freer. I know we've not come to the finals yet, but one of my WhatsApp texts to you was that Zverev was running around his backhand. This is the first time I've seen him do it. Zverev ran around his backhand all the way to the sideline to take a forehand inside out, right? Now, I know it didn't work. That ball was out. But the fact that Zverev was willing to attack using his forehand speaks volumes about how his mindset and confidence has changed simply after winning his first slam. Right? I think it has really opened up something in him. And I think owing to the fact that Fritz has also not had a great year and Zverev having finally won his first slam, I think on paper, Fritz also had won the last 6-7 matches that they've played.
Yeah.
Across, I think, all surfaces, whatever surface they've played in, Fritz has had the upper hand.
Correct.
Right? And he's won quite easily. I'm not sure a lot of matches went to even 3 sets.
Yeah.
But it was just a clean wipeout this time. So I think it's just Zverev's confidence at an all-time high. I don't know how else to put this.
Yeah. I think he has won the last, 6 matches on, Halle, Stuttgart, the tour finals also, and then US Open, Wimbledon. So it's like 6 matches lost to. Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's exactly what I also thought. He said it in the after winning the Roland Garros. Zverev mentioned that nobody can take this, right? And it frees you up. If you're from the time you're small, your only dream is to kind of win, Grand Slams, right? And then you win your first one. You waited for so long. You came so close. You were 2 sets up against team. So with all the history, right, he has been bogged down now. Suddenly he is a different player. Right? He just comes into grass and plays. It's nobody's business. He has not made very big inroads into grass. Right? So he played. I think Fritz's match in my mind also was very clear. See, you might have the confidence. You might think that I'm going to play. Nothing matters, but when you see the result, it feedbacks into the confidence. The success feedbacks into your confidence, saying that okay, I've beaten this guy, right? So you could see that in the next matches when he played. Just coming into semifinals. Also when he played Fery, it's quite obvious, right? Fery defeated Cobolli in the quarterfinals. The last set was 6-0, right? It felt like. I mean, we even had a chat about this, where you said that hey, is it going to be I also felt that if you can pull something out like this, we all of us felt that it's going to be Zverev. But
Mm-hmm.
the fact that Ferry is able to win 6-0 against Cobolli meant that he will have that stronger this thing. But how Zverev was quickly able to shut him out,
Right.
especially after first set, he had like literally, it felt like the match was only going one way, right? So
Right.
it was quite lopsided.
Right.
Because he's hitting mixers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That is what now Zverev is made of these days. We'll come back
Right.
to the final and talk about that a little bit more. Yeah, that's
Right.
what it looks like. The semi-final match, I think the epic match, great match, not an epic match, but a good match between Sinner and Djokovic. 3 sets. What are your thoughts? How did it, like, what did you learn from it? What was, what stood out for you?
So I wasn't able to catch it fully, but the score just reflects the Sinner that we hadn't seen for this tournament at least.
Yeah.
He wasn't firing on all cylinders. But I think what happens is when you play someone like Djokovic, or when anyone plays someone like Alcaraz or Sinner, it tends to bring out the best in you. And especially when you have the 3 or 4 top players going at it with each other, it brings out the best in you, right? That's why the big 3 are the big 3. They attribute their success to the other 2.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think when Sinner plays Djokovic, Sinner knows no matter how he's played, he obviously had the upper hand coming in because of the very long match that Djokovic had in the previous round. Yeah. But Sinner is Sinner, right? Sinner knows he can't give Djokovic any leeway because Djokovic is the master of having a plan A and a plan B and a plan C and a plan D, right?
Yeah.
And while we say Sinner is the version 2.0 of Djokovic, we're yet to see whether Sinner is able to pull out more than a plan B or a plan C, right? You're yet to see the variety that Djokovic can simply bring in, or all the different game styles that Djokovic can bring in. But having said that, I think Sinner did a great job at neutralizing everything that Djokovic threw at him. What are your thoughts? What did you see?
Yeah. I think, so basically, I completely agree with, I had the same thought process around how he, until then was not playing his best tennis. Suddenly you go into the match and you're like, okay, the guy's back, right? He's like, his forehand going the first 4 rounds of this thing was horrible. He had made so many mistakes, right? He was just hitting things like framing and this thing, hitting things wild. So many unforced on that side. Come Djokovic, he just feels like I can hit wherever I want. Like it's the same thing that you're seeing with him, right? One thing that stood out for me was that for me with Sinner, the movement is paramount, right? It is always there, but the way he moves and hits the shot kind of tells you whether he is playing his best tennis or not. That's what I look at it in terms of, right? It's like a dance, right? In a way that it's very unique to Sinner in a way, I feel. That's why I really like him as a player because he stands out. Even when we talk, even the Alcaraz conversation, what stands out for me from Sinner is that his ability to move, slide on any surface and hit the shot with a pace that is like same as if you're static and hitting the shot, right? That's what. So when he's starting to do that, you know that okay, this guy is back. He's fine. He's free of injury. His mind, like he's confident. That's what it indicates to me because that's how he generally plays when that's uniquely his style, right? So that's what we saw in that match. I still remember so he had one break point. I mean, this is like in the entire match, like you're playing Djokovic. I mean, like your one break point, right? Whatever said and done, right? You should ideally you will have more with Djokovic. That's how even the best people have kind of suffered that thing, right? Federers and best servers have he has always had access. So that is one stat. And then the third set, I saw one amazing point. He's been sliding throughout. He's been hitting, sliding, drop shots, picking up and things like that. There's one shot right at the back of the court. It's a brown patch. He slid to his backhand. It was hit with full intensity, flat shot from Djokovic. Slid all the way in the brown grass, took the ball, hit it cross court. I think it was either a winner or the next shot he finished off the point. So when he's playing like that, I do not think that it's very hard. Like that's exactly what Djokovic said in the press conference that he is a level or two above me, right now. Not because of it's mostly because when you are playing a player who's like so much younger to you and you're 40, 39, like your body actually doesn't have the same level of pace to move and like things like that. Right. And Sinner can make you do that, right? From one side to another. That's what
it's Djokovic getting a taste of his own medicine, right? This is what Djokovic had done all these years. That you slide onto your backhand, right?
That's
slide
the reason why we call. Correct. That's the reason the generalization that you made, it's a shortcut to kind of talk about Sinner. Like, Sinner, you have never seen him. Think of him as like a better version of it. It's not necessarily entirely true. The games are different in slightly different, nuanced ways. Like you said, the tactician, the Djokovic is definitely Sinner. It's not. I would say even the return of serve, Sinner is amazing at it, but Djokovic had a very different kind of a way to do it, strategically speaking.
There was a fear surrounding Djokovic's return of serve, right? Djokovic had an aura around his return.
Aura around, right? Sinner will probably take a cut at it. Djokovic will probably push it and then play, make it more difficult, so that then gets to you, like what happened in Wimbledon 2019 with the great Roger Federer as well, right? It plays in the back of your mind, like this guy, like at least with Sinner, like okay, if he's not in the form, he's going to take a cut at his second serve and miss it. But Djokovic, she would give you no such joy, right? He would just say, okay, I'm going to block into a corner or in a place slightly deeper, so they're going to make trouble. That is the thing. But yeah, coming back to the semifinals, that was the epic one. And then thoughts on the Fery versus, I think we already covered the Fery and Zverev semifinal as well. On the women's side, there are some interesting ones, right? Which is your, like, did you catch any of those? Did anything stand out for you?
Right. I think we also mentioned Muchová versus Gauff that had happened simply because of Gauff's missed opportunity.
Correct. Yeah,
right. I think we covered a part of the match there. But yeah, from what I could see, like the obvious tactic was for Muchová to I wouldn't say pummel, because Muchová is not a hard hitter, but to simply play the ball to Gauff's forehand, right? And I could see Gauff really struggle on her forehand. Like there were balls dropping in well behind the service line, and that was very routine. And maybe Muchová also felt a bit tight. It was a three-setter. Muchová was a bit tight because anyone else would have absolutely belted those forehands or backhand, whichever way, right? But Muchová kind of gently placed it back again into the forehand and maybe made a run around the backhand a bit. So Gauff was able to use her strength, which was her movement, despite having a bad forehand, because Muchová was unwilling to simply finish it.
Yeah. I think also I felt that towards the end of the match where she was missing those things, she was just stretching a little, but maybe there's some kind of discomfort there as well. So that could also be the factor in the whole thing. But for me the best, the semi-final that actually I noticed is that where I really liked, which I really liked, was the other one. It's not as popular opinion. I think everyone is talking about Gauff versus Muchová, but for me, Nosková versus Kostyuk was actually an amazing semi-final. The scorelines don't indicate it. 6-4, 6-4, or 6-4, 7-5, 6-4, 6-4, I think. If I remember correct. Kostyuk played really well. That's the thing about, that's why I really like Nosková. I'll talk about this when we talk about the finals as well. I like Nosková as a player because of how she plays the aggressive part of the game. When you're in rhythm, she doesn't let up. And you wouldn't think that, like, hard hitting, like both are hard hitters. Both Nosková and Kostyuk are hard hitters. They hit the ball very well, right? In critical moments, to be able to match it with the placement, with the depth that is required at critical moments, is something that I really, really liked about her. Both the times when Kostyuk was serving for the set, not serving for the set. So it's like down 5-4. Kostyuk is serving a 5-4. Kostyuk is serving to equalize, and then she'll break. Both times. It was, I think part of it is also, I feel, again, here I'm going to say something that may be controversial. I feel that Kostyuk really need to work on emotional mental aspect of a game for the potential that she has, the power hitter that she is. Again, we spoke about this a little bit before we got on the call about how to handle in the context of, let's say, Rublev or Sabalenka, for example. You need to figure out a way to harness your frustrations into focus. That's the thing that you need to really do, because tennis is a brutal game. There's going to be one winner at the end of of 128 people who played the game, who entered the fortnight back. There's only one winner who can go with the trophy, right? So it is frustrating at times. You will not play the best every time. There will be variations on it. Opponents will frustrate. The second time, I'm seeing Kostyuk getting frustrated. In French Open, it was Andriva wind and other things. She got so overwhelmed by it, lost sight of the fact that she needs to kind of dig in and figure out a way. That part is missing for her. That's what I felt. She got so emotionally carried away. There has to be a you need to figure out where your best throughput of emotions is. How do you channel it, and then try to play that emotion as much as possible, then handle it. Like Sabalenka does it very well, right? She plays with a particular level of intensity, emotion. And then when chips are down, she just pumps herself, right? Your grunts become this thing. It works for her, right? she thinks that she's going to bring the tiger that she is out. But I feel that in Kostyuk case, it's actually working the opposite. It's not really helping her. So that's something that she should. But otherwise, a great player. She has had such a good run in the last about 3, 4, 5 weeks. She has lost 2 matches precisely, right? Last
yeah, she
5, 6
entered.
weeks.
She entered the French Open having won Madrid, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
she won Madrid,
she
and she had
lost
beaten
no match on that
Andreeva in the
surface.
process.
Yeah, she beat
And then
Andreeva
in the French, she lost to Andreeva.
She lost to Andreeva. Yeah, so that's an amazing run. But yeah, unfortunately, she not to be in the final.
Right. I think it's far easier said than done to be able to regulate your emotion, right? Because I think that is what has defined the greats. That is what separates the greats from everyone else. Is that when the chips are down, when things aren't working, you either buckle up and focus and come back to what your game is, or you figure out a plan B, plan C, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen only a couple of masters of the game to have done that, which is why I think I think it's probably one of the most difficult things to do in tennis is to be able to maybe detach yourself from the results or regulate your emotions with so much control and mastery that it simply doesn't bother you that, you're not playing well or the environment is against you or if the crowd is against you. I think it's a lot harder to actually put that into practice than it is to just think that you'll do it.
A fair point, but just that I felt that, especially, I think the Wimbledon, I would still think, okay, that's fine because she handled fairly well after as well. But French Open for me was a glaring thing. It's like wind, you can't do much. You have to figure out a name.
Right.
But fair point. I think it's definitely easier said than done, right? When you're really so passionate about things, that's fine. All right.
I mean, you are a professional. I think the expectation is fair that you should be able to do it. But at the same time, it is
because
really
it's going to be harmful. If don't want it to be harmful. The whole process of being a pro is that you eliminate things that actually kind of prevents you from reaching your goals, right?
Right.
That's the thing. So that's why, from that perspective. But what a final we had, Nosková and Muchová, right? It's a fitting final. This thing, at least, definitely not a one-sided 6-0, 6-0 kind of a final, right? Like what we had last year. I'm really glad. It was definitely a nail biter. And what are your thoughts? Did you catch any of it? I know that you're playing your UTR at the same time as well. Ill-timed UTR, but what are your thoughts?
I did catch some glimpses, at least the highlights. I tried to see like if I could catch the highlights of a longer match, some longer highlights. What I could see was that Muchová is inconsistent, obviously, but she has her flashes of brilliance, right? Like you mentioned. Her strengths, I think, lie in being able to generate angles because she's not someone who plays with a lot of pace all the time. She plays with some variety, she plays with angles, and she thrives on being able to move the other player around and then get opportunities that allow her to maybe get an open court, right? From what I could see, what Nosková was doing is she would kind of bluntly put it back near the center. So she would neutralize Muchova's strengths in being able to generate any angle and at the same time not get an open court or not generate any pace. Very briefly in the second set when Muchová had her comeback, right? I think Nosková was up 5-3.
5-2. Yeah.
In the span that I saw her Muchová make a comeback, there were far more angles to the shots on court. I think Muchová either figured out a way to get these angles or Nosková had a small dip and was trying to get an angle out on her own, which then worked in Muchova's favor. But she managed to shut that down in the third set again. It was just that very brief period where you could see Muchová shine again because something played to her strengths. But credit to Nosková who managed to pull that strategy back in again of simply not giving her any angle to work with is what I could see, right? What did you think of it?
Yeah, one thing is, right, we're talking about the mental aspects. This is where I feel that we have seen a player who I really love to watch and continue to watch in Nosková, right? Because you generally see players who have run for 7 days and then win like 7 fortnight and win slams, fall off because they had certain momentum. But with Nosková, I've seen throughout that she is a player who's capable of resilience. First of all, she's somebody who is a great rhythm player. When you give her rhythm, she's going to kind of keep she's going to run over you, right? That is one that she established it very clearly. You saw the Kostyuk match, you saw the match before that. Doesn't matter how good a player you are, the moment she is into you give her the right kind of ball, she's just going to kind of run over you, right? That was very clear. But in certain matches, we have seen that she has the fact that she was down 5-2 and then she was not able to close it out, whatever it is. So many things going on in your head. She's 21, right? She's like, we talk about young players. She's quite young, right? And for her to kind of say that, we talk about Alexia, she's probably the same age, 20, 21.
Yes.
The part of the story that really surprises me was that every time she had done that, she'd also shown the other side, which is the resilient side of it, right? I still remember watching the third set. I was like, she's tossing multiple times and holding the toss back, right? She's not even able to, sometimes it happens to all of us, right? Your arm gets tight, for whatever reason, you're not able to even get the toss right. So but to be able to come back and say, okay, no, it doesn't matter. I'm going to kind of figure this out, right? For a long time, even the beginning of third set, she was quite nervous, but she dug in, like, kind of eliminated distractions, dug in, and then didn't let go from that point on, right? Amazing player. I've been like, she beat, again, Pegula in one of the run-up tournaments, which Germany or
Berlin, I think. She came in winning Berlin.
Germany. Berlin. Like she played one match. She didn't need to play, but yeah. Anyway, she is an amazing grass court player. I'm really looking forward to watching in other subjects as well. Very good personality from where I see. Is like calm, composed at the same time, can be very resilient, right? Yeah, talent for sure, right? I'm just rooting for her. That was the women's final. Now, about the men's final. So yeah, Zverev versus Sinner, like we thought 1 and 2. After all the drama, it's like number 1 seed versus number 2 seed, right?
Right.
So what are your thoughts? I think you heard a few things. I know that I caught the match late on replay, but you watched it.
I was very impressed by Zverev's aggression. I think his aggression has been, like I mentioned, right? His confidence is renewed, and it's not even renewed. I think his confidence is just at a new high now, right? He used to be confident, but he would choke away these matches during the semis and the finals. Yeah. His confidence is now at an all-time high, and I was extremely surprised by how he was playing, right? You wouldn't think of Zverev as somebody who was naturally aggressive. You've seen him be quite passive, and he took it to Sinner in the first set. Goodness, absolutely decided to belt the ball on his forehand and his backhand. He was coming to the net, and his first serve percentage, haven't seen those many aces being bombed down so rapidly. He was serving at 131, 135, 36, and the ball would hit the corners. Like, it's not even like the ball's coming to Sinner's body, right?
So
he
precise,
would pick his spots. It would be very precise. And he managed to really play a lights out first set. And very oddly, I would see Sinner slip more often than I thought he did in his previous matches. It would be simple shots, right? Sinner would slide in, Sinner would come into the net, and or Sinner would just simply change direction, and you would see him just slip on the court. Like, it almost felt like Sinner hadn't quite found his footing yet, and despite that, he managed to take the first set to a tiebreak. And after that, you could still see Sinner not find his footing as well as Sinner to be the gazelle that he is on the court. But in the second and even the third and even the fourth, felt like Zverev went back to his passive shot making. Like, I thought I saw a loss in aggression, right? And that may have allowed Sinner to get back in. And we all know, once Sinner is back in, he's it. He's not somebody who loses focus. He's not someone who'll just give you a game. He went for it, and he just ended the match quite easily.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Did you see the same pattern? Did you see something?
What I saw was, I think that I completely agree with on the forehand, how he started hitting with, it's like we do not remember how, when I saw last Zverev hitting this kind of forehands, right? I remember one forehand down the line. I'm like, this is Alcaraz forehand. Somebody actually, one of the commentators said it's straight out of Del Potro. I'm like, okay, that's going too far. But I don't know anybody who was hitting forehand like Del Potro. But the one, like, it was a very Alcaraz kind of a forehand, right? It is in a way he was like kind of asserting his authoritativeness on the match and saying that, listen, I am a Grand Slam champion. I'm going to just expect this from me types, right? And
right.
Definitely, the first set he was actually very good. He had a break point. I think Sinner kind of slipped out a very easy forehand again break, but then Sinner actually kind of didn't play the same aggressiveness later, like the rest of the set. And then the tiebreak, I think tiebreak was also very close. I think it went all the way till 10 or something, if I remember correct, or something like that. And then he lost one of the points again, a simpler one to kind of give it. Sinner lost the point to give it 2-0. Second set, actually, I thought at the beginning, Zverev was playing very good. Right? Until the tiebreak again, right? The tiebreak, suddenly, just before the tiebreak, Sinner was, his body language changed. He started getting aggressive, a little bit more aggressive in the game style.
Yes, I did see that.
And you see that as soon as he did that, suddenly, see, this is one of the things that we often talk about. People, for us, who are like recreational players, don't necessarily understand fully, is that you can always question, like, why can't you just play, like, without showing your emotions, pumping yourself up or something. I think it's extremely important. People who know, who play regularly would understand this, that you need to kind of feed back energy in a way that you can assert yourself. It makes a difference, right? The way you would play the next point, because you are in such a, that's how it works, right? So that's why pros do it. Suddenly changed, and he started returning serves at 135, 136 first serves. And I was making first serve returns, right? Suddenly the thing changes, right? It's just a small switch that you just push yourself through a little bit more. Suddenly things become possible, and then he won the first, second set. Going into the third set, you see that. So once that happened, the opposite happens with Zverev, right? From a body language perspective, his shoulders started drooping a little bit, right? What happens? He tries to put. I mean, Zverev really has actually matured, right? See, from there also, he was not like letting it through, like okay, I'm done. He was fighting because he really wanted to win this. But when the third set, he has the first break point on Sinner serves. By the way, one break point. He has on the entire in the third set. The third set, right? And he couldn't capitalize on it. Sinner comes back, wins it, and then he actually wins the rest of the set as well, right? So. And then the fourth set was again the more of the same story. Your body language is not that great, and then Sinner actually figures out a way, like you say. Amazing shots I saw from Zverev. One forehand return again. I mean, a lot of great shots he played throughout. Clean hitting on the forehand side, like you said, going all the way around to take forehand backhand. Which I do not expect from Zverev, because you would think Zverev's strength is backhand. That's what you tend to believe because he plays. He hit one really great return of serve winner from outside the tram line. The serve that is sliding out, the slide out wide that Sinner does.
I see.
Took it and hit it straight down. Thing is like such a fabulous winner.
Which is a very not Zverev thing to be
not
able to do.
Not Zverev's stroke, right? Yeah, not Zverev's shot.
Not at all.
Here's the thing, right? We always talk about what my take on that match was. Important one would be that we always talk about Sinner and Alcaraz, improving each other based on how they play. The big three, we spoke about that as well.
Right.
Suddenly it feels like Zverev is in the conversation. Right? Zverev is also improving because of Sinner. Remember, I think this is 10th successive defeat to Sinner. In spite of that, obviously, they have a very skewed one-on-one at this point. I think 11-4 after this match. Right? He has not won in a long time against Sinner. Now, like in fact, Sinner is the only one that's blocking him from getting into the next stage in almost all tournaments that he played. So towards the end of it, he joked that I don't like you anymore. and listen to this other stat, right? A stat which is very staggering. 18 service games this holds for Sinner against Zverev. 18 service holds.
Oof.
It's like
that goes back
brutal.
To many matches. I don't even know how many matches that is.
Yeah, 10 matches is like,
There's only 8. There's only 7 or 8 matches, right? Yes, I think so.
Yeah, should be that much. Yeah, 18 service holds, and in the entire match, he had only one break point and 10 straight match wins against Zverev. Brutal. But to Zverev's credit, it was not looking one-sided like some of the other matches were, right? It was actually a tough match. But again, I think the matchup is so. You talk about serves, right? One of the stats I was seeing is that everybody talks about Zverev's serve. It's great, I agree. But the accuracy in fact, Zverev was hitting serves almost as fast as Sinner's first serves. 120 mile an hour serves, right? But this is where I think the most important thing comes, right? How does the returner do? He keeps constantly changing his positions, right? He suddenly starts attacking a serve that was actually going very well until the point. Then he varies the returns in so many places, so it becomes very complicated for him. And I felt there was a stat that I shared with you this morning that Sinner was more accurate on those serves. He had only so many first serves made, right?
Yes.
I think it was if I remember correct, Zverev was at a very high cliff, 20 plus percentage, probably more. And nearly, I think the first 2 sets I remember, those serves were actually happening at 135 miles per hour.
Yes.
Right, which is like, I mean, ridiculous.
Yeah.
The number of people who would actually lose a match with this stat is like, probably 1 or 2. Like, that's all you can think of.
I think
And
Andy Roddick would be one of them. If I remember correctly, maybe Opelka every now and then, but like
I'm
no
saying
one
the
with
number
that
of people
kind of
who would like, who would make you lose this match, right? Sinner is one of them, right?
Yes,
that's the weirdest part, because what he does on the return is that he does better return, and then he also does his serves much more accurately than, if you look at this, just a serve placement, not the percentage and stuff. Both on first serves and second serves, Sinner is so accurate. He's so close to the corner boxes.
I think
lines
he's
in
within
every
40
single time.
Right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I mean, the stat that I saw was that within 40 centimeters of sidelines at 10, 15, something like that was
where I think
way higher than
was
Zverev.
still in his 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
So that's a good 20 centimeters difference, right?
Correct. There's your positional advantage, your pace advantage, but then the other guy has a positional advantage. He's actually putting exactly where he wants, right? So that's a very different ballgame altogether. But yeah, it has been a memorable final. Any parting thoughts on any of this before we move on to our GOATs for the next episode, for the next part of this podcast?
No. I think we've got it all covered. I think we can just move.
Yeah, amazing. So basically, before we go to the GOATs part of it, I have there's a segment that I want to kind of do called talking points, right? What are the things that you heard that are interesting? So I'm going to this is a kind of a fan thing for me, for like, I love Andre Agassi as well as a player. So I love listening to him more than, I mean, obviously I love when he played, just watching it. But he is an absolutely brilliant commentator. What do you think? Some of the gems that he said on the air, amazing learning experience.
Bring it on. Like I love listening to him when he's talking about tennis. I like listening to him when he's talking about his journey that he's had to go through, even as a player, right? When he's had his ups and downs. He had his interview with Andy Roddick on his podcast, and the way he would talk about the internal battles that he had to push through and then overcome, and then finally see tennis as just a game, right? And to be able to be in your head and then get out of it and see the world a little differently, and also be able to see what was in your head. I think that perspective is very rare to come by, and he applies it to large parts of the game. Anything that he has to say is so nuanced and it is so insightful, and he manages to do it in very few words, right? So he really gets to the core, and anything that he says, I am all in for listening to it. So what do you have?
Yeah. So likewise, I'm a big fan of Agassi because of his insights and how he played the game as well. So he had lots of interesting things he said. Like, one of the things that he mentioned is that I noted down a few. Is that one thing that I don't know whether you knew about it, is that he said that it's not just about where you stand on a written position as serve for somebody is not about where you're comfortable or what the speed of the ball is. It's also where your opponent is standing and serving from. You have to square up from how he's standing. So you see someone like Linda Nosková standing very close to the tee, the separation, and then opening and serving. Then with him, you stand square up in a different way compared to, let's say, somebody who's standing slightly wider away from this thing, because the geometry works like that, because the ball is going to travel like that. In retrospect, think that this should be something that everybody should be teaching in the academy, right? That's the kind of point he brings up. Very nuanced, right? He say it in the passing, saying that you square up to your server rather than positioning expecting the ball. You simply square up to your server when you stand. So that's another one thing that he said. And then he said lots of interesting stuff about one thing that want to take your pick your brains on this. One thing that he said that got my attention, and that there was a reply from other podcast also on this, is he said, of the two people who can Alcaraz and Sinner in this current generation, the only person who could really play in this generation with the kind of pace being generated and stuff like that from Agassi's generation was Marat Safin. So he didn't say Sampras, he said Marat Safin. So people had mixed opinions, like there were different opinions. In fact, Safin himself came on a podcast and refuted it, saying that not necessarily kind of thing, very Safin thing to do. But
very Safin. He won't really put out much. Just to best guess.
So What are your thoughts? Do you think that he said it in a particular context? I also went and commented on that thing, like, on X also, that it was very contextual because Safin had those long levers and then he can play well from both sides, like hit big balls from both sides. So from that perspective, I do believe what you said is correct. Like he would have been one player in this generation would have actually matched. Hard to say. Yeah, it's always going to be difficult.
It's very hard to say because it's always difficult to compare generations. It's almost an orange and apples situation because the game has changed so much. Surfaces have kind of evened out. The ball speed has reduced. Your racket tech is slightly different from that era, right? So you never know how they would have squared up against each other. Also, given that movement is far better now.
Right, that's true.
Players actually work on movement, work on fitness. And during his era, I think would have had great movement. He's a huge guy. He's 6'4", right? He had great movement, and he could really belt the ball on forehand and backhand, and had a serve to back it up. I'm not sure quite what his return stats would have been, but I wouldn't go as far to say he would compete with Sinner and Alcaraz because even back then, I don't think he was considered a complete player. He did have some errors in his game. I mean, one of the most glaring errors would probably be his mentality and his mental strength. Like, I don't think that was what he was known for. What he was known for is maybe, yes, the force that he could bring in. He had a big game. But I think it's fair to say that he wouldn't probably chalk up. But I'm not sure about what the context is.
No, the context was only about the back and forehand, like the ability to kind of take a full swing at it. If you look at some of the players, like for example, Sampras, a single-handed backhand, he will never take a full swing at the backhand most of the times. Like it's like not very effective on the backhand side. He had a good serve. He could still this thing, but then you have this backhand. So it's from the context that even Agassi, for that matter, didn't have. He had a good backhand, but it's not like a full swing, like a really hard hitting thing. Just, kind of. So from that perspective, what he was saying is big levers, and then be able to have a big game on both sides is what he was pretty much saying. Not in the context of, oh, no, you will beat. Not like that. So that was the thing that he said. He brought in a lot of interesting comments. I will stop with one last one, which is like when they were playing Sinner and Djokovic, there was a point where he was like, so Djokovic was actually hitting down the line winners, like from the backhand side and flat ones. And see, this is where I feel I would love to listen to him whenever possible as a commentator more than anybody else. There are some really bad ones as well. He is actually like the best. So he told that. So when he was doing that, he just like everybody was like, what a shot. And this guy suddenly said, it's great, but you're not going to get many of those. One, because Sinner is not going to give you that where you can just hit flat. Because it's going to just give you something that's got too much topspin, you probably will do it. Second, it's a low percentage shot, right? How many will you make, right? You will make mistakes. So if you are actually thinking that's the thing, that's the play, that's not going to be the only way to do it because you're not going to get it. These are some of the things that makes a lot of difference especially for players like us, right? It is the basics, but that is true even for the pro players. And when a pro himself comes and says this, you understand the game a little bit better. It's about him eliminating how to look at the game in a different way, right? So just looking at it as winners and unforced errors. To say when Zverev was playing in the final, the final match, he was saying that first that he said that he had more enforced errors than Sinner in the game,
right?
And on the forehand side as well, a few more. And he said that if he had not made those unforced errors, right, he would not have the courage to go for a winner in the last, like the tie break, right? Like during the clutch moments, because you've done that, you know how much you have to hit farther, shorter, what adjustment you have to make is when you're able to do it. So those nuance points, I think I'm a big fan of. That was something that, call out to Agassi, one of them.
Yes.
For me, the biggest, the interesting bite that I got from this entire last 2 weeks is like Djokovic. I think they were trying to close the roof quarterfinals with Félix. He got limit about it. And there is a quote from him. I wrote it down. It says, "You're too proud of your rules. You don't follow any rules."
You're too proud to actually stick to them.
Stick to that because they were closing the roof much early.
Yeah.
So instead of closing
despite
it,
both players objecting to it, right?
Both players objecting to it. So that was the thing. That was like completely Djokovic kind of a thing to say, right?
And was it a very Wimbledon British thing to do?
Yeah, it is.
Or at least a posh Wimbledon thing to do.
I mean, the way it was presented also to the thing that we are sorry, we're polite, but then we are too proud to kind of even have you ask questions because we are. I don't like that. I mean, just listen to players, right? Both of them wanting the roof open, right? And you have good 45, 50 minutes to go, I think, right? They would have played a set.
They closed it far earlier than some of the other rounds.
Yeah, why? I mean, make up your rules. That's what Djokovic was saying. Make up your mind, right? The other day they closed close to like 10 minutes before the thing. And now you're saying that you want to close 45 minutes before? Which way?
Which is a good set.
Right? Yeah, it is a good set. So that was the thing. I found it extremely hilarious that he actually said it in the camera captured everything. So the whole moment, very interesting. All right, that's kind of brings us to the one last aspect of what I want to talk about, which is Serena's comeback. We haven't actually spoke about it, and then a couple of things about what is next for Djokovic, kind of a thing. A quick discussion we can have on those. Serena, do you think she's going? I know she played one singles match and then lost it 3-setter. Fine. Do you think she's going to play both? That's the thing that I'm interested in. Will she play US Open singles?
That's the question I also had. But I think someone like Serena won't simply enter Wimbledon and play a warm-up event thinking that she will maybe, feel it out and decide if she wants to play the next few tournaments or at least the US Open. Right? I think when she's entered Wimbledon, she's done it with the mindset that she will continue to fight for slams till she finally calls it quits. I don't think this is just a let's feel it moment. I think Serena being Serena, she wants to play at a higher level.
I see.
Back again. So I am thinking that unless injury prevents her, she will try and play the US Open to the best of her abilities. Could be singles, could be doubles. But I think I think it's in her mind that she wants to play.
Makes sense. I think, I mean, my guess is that she wants to play. I understand that, but she needs to be, she needs to definitely have more warm-ups for sure. Like, I think that could be my take on based on what I've seen so far. Not helping with the warm-ups, right? And about Djokovic, what do you think after the semi-final loss? What are your thoughts? Do you think that, I mean, again, I don't want to, there's so much to learn just from watching the guy play many times. From the perspective of him being 40 years and still having to go through the pain of this thing, do you have any thoughts on that?
With Djokovic, I think it's safe to accept that the 25th elusive will probably be that way unless the draw opens up for him completely and he doesn't have to face anyone who's like this rising up and coming, right? Like in the French, he faced Fonseca, a great match, right? If he doesn't face someone like that, and if he maybe faces only Sinner or Alcaraz and the other person's not there, without having to go through a match like he did with Félix this time, only then his chances at a slam will be present. But I think it's safe to say that circumstances of many kinds really need to be in his favor for him to win a slam. He is still capable of reaching a semi like he showed us. He can still reach a final. But to finally close it out, I think that is, I think that might elude him.
Yeah, I clearly see that why even the press conference has become very evident, right? On the one side, we have always seen Djokovic, to even himself, his identity is that I am actually somebody who will break limitations, right? I'm going to push myself, whatever it takes. I'll go through this and I am the person who's going to kind of go through the limitations and become better and better and better. The stronger the obstacle, the more I'm going to kind of push through. And that has been his identity so far. Federer and all, he did that. Every match, it has been like that with him, right? And now he's facing a duality where the body is really not prepared to play at that level. It doesn't allow him to play at that level. He was physically fit in this thing, but you cannot rise the level same way somebody who's 15 years younger to you can actually do, right? That's the reality of it, right? I think that, so he is facing this duality that, right, should I do this or should I continue to fight for it, right? He has to settle that. And that's what he told in the press conference afterwards also, that nobody is pushing me to play. It is just me, right? And you find it extremely hard to not do that because that's what he has done all through his life. He plays an obstacle, he will figure out a way to come through. And now he is hitting not just the obstacles. He knows that he will someday will be able to beat one of these guys. But then to be able to do so, how long should I go on? That was the question that I think he was dealing with. For me, one of the biggest life lessons for me is that even at this time and age, for him having played so much, people still kind of, even the press conference, they ask questions like, hey, do you still think that you can win this? I find it's disrespectful. Also, the fact that you always have naysayers like this in life, right? Even all of us have, right? Like many times we ourselves are kind of like that to ourselves, right? We'll constantly be saying no to ourselves in so many ways. So it is a big eye-opener for that. Even Djokovic, after 24 Grand Slams, after sitting in a press conference, and somebody's gonna, after he did like just played a 5-hour match and won against somebody 15 years younger, you still have to go through that question. Hey, do you think you can consistently, right? It's just a big thing for me to say. People are always going to count you out, like wanting to count you out in some way, right? That was a eye-opener for me. Whatever you do, however successful you are, somebody's going to come and say, no, I don't think you can do it. Right? I think it's
and I think that is what has fueled him for the larger part of his career.
Exactly.
Right? And
he uses it as a fuel, right? That's the best part.
And I think now the difference is that the obstacles have now become more internal through his body rather than something external like a booing crowd or like it's
the crowd is not booing him anymore. They all love him now.
They all love him. Yeah. It's about time.
Yeah. It's quite late. Yeah, it helped in 24 Grand Slams.
Better late than never.
Yeah. All right. So one final thing. How did your UTR go? I know you played. We both played. This weekend. How did it go? What are your thoughts?
I think my thoughts are more for the general public looking to like us as rec players. I think what helps us be better is not simply to go out on the court and find your forehand and find your backhand and see if your serve is working that day. Match play is very, very different. So what I realize is that I can play my best tennis when I'm rallying with you, for example. But when I'm playing a match, what am I supposed to do if that doesn't work? Right? Like we can all have days when forehand is not working. It's a shot you're particularly confident in. Like what happens when that isn't working, right? What do you do? Do you try to remember that, it was working very well yesterday. What is happening today, right? So it's about the frustrations that you mentioned Kostyuk needs to go through. Like fundamentally, these frustrations are universal, right? When something doesn't go your way, a very natural instinct is to get frustrated by that and maybe double down on it and just crash out. But I think what match play allows you to do, at least on rec level, is to see the game a little differently, play differently, and just try to, it's more mental than it is physical, if I'm being honest. And that's what I could see in this tournament. I would like to play a lot more simply because it opens up new avenues of thinking about the game. What were your thoughts and how did you feel?
Yeah, mine was, I suffered through the first one.
You had some tough matches.
Yeah.
Not as much, but you had some tough matches.
So for me, I'm coming, like, I wanted to kind of put, like, now that I'm just kind of exiting my startup and I'm doing something, before I want to take up something, I want to kind of, like, I've been passionate about playing. We play regularly. So I want to kind of see where do I stand in terms of what can I do on the court? Because you can do whatever you want, but the match play is different, like you said, right? So you have to figure out, you have to problem solve. So that was the aspect I was putting to test there. For me, I think I realized that I get too anxious on the court when I don't have so many variables that I do not really know. The court was different. It was playing very different when I went in there. It was like an oven sort of thing. It didn't have much circulation. It was an indoor court, but there was not much circulation. First match, I completely kind of got overwhelmed by those things, and then I lost. I think in retrospect, I kind of look back and look at the mistakes that I've done and corrected. Second match was brutal, like you said, like the guy was really hitting with so much topspin and pulling me out wide, and it was a close match. So it took me that much time, and then I realized that, okay, now I have to play slightly differently because of the court and because of this thing. And then the last match was much better. But yeah, I personally feel that I had so much fun doing it after such a long time. Though I was extremely tired, I was very happy we did that over the weekend. Looking forward to doing more of those, given that, again, maybe every month I'll play one. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe 3-4 matches of UTR. That'll also motivate me to kind of become much fitter. Maybe will be a better tournament next time, hopefully.
Yes. I think I'll let you know when one comes by.
Sure. We'll go. All right, man. Nice one. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.